What's up guys, Dan here, and I'm back with another laser how-to video. This one is also coming off the back of a comment from a subscriber who asked for a video on how to tack in the laser. And so in this video, I am bringing you the complete guide to tacking the laser. We're going to go through exactly what our goals for the tack are, and then I am going to break down a number of examples from some of the best sailors in the world on how they tack in light winds, medium winds, and strong winds. So I've got this PowerPoint here, and I want to quickly mention that if you guys would like to get a hold of this PowerPoint with all of the examples for yourself, I am going to put a link in the description box where you can go and sign up to my email newsletter. And when you do so, you will get this full PowerPoint sent directly to your email. And if you've already subscribed, just wait a couple of days and you will be getting this guide sent to you as part of your regular newsletter. But without further ado, let's jump into the video and learn how we can all master the tack in the laser. So first things first, let's go through what the goals of the tack are. There's basically two key principles which we want to achieve with our tack. The first being to minimize the speed that we lose, or in the case of very light winds, and we're not going to tell the jury this, but we might even be trying to gain speed. And the second one is how can we maximize the distance that we gain towards the top mark during the tack. And the priority for these two goals is going to change a little bit across the wind range and as the wind gets stronger. When we're tacking in light winds, we might be more interested in maximizing the distance we gain to the mark or even gaining speed, as I mentioned. But as the wind gets stronger, we might actually be looking to minimize the speed we lose and get back to going at full speed as quickly as possible. And the other thing to mention with tacks in the laser is that it's kind of a spectrum, really. So it's not like the light wind tack is vastly different than the windy weather tack. It's sort of like varying degrees of how much emphasis you put on rolling the boat and sheeting. So they're all kind of the same movement. You're just going to alter the different parts of the tack slightly depending on the wind strength. And so with that said, let's jump into the light wind tacks, and then we are going to build up towards the heavy wind tacks at the end. So starting off with the light wind tack, our goal here is going to be as smooth as possible, minimize any speed that we lose, and ideally maybe even gain speed, and also in being smooth and accurate with the tack, gaining distance upwind towards the mark. So the first step in a light wind tack is that we are going to ease the boat. It's not really ease, but slowly bring the boat up into the wind. And as we're doing so, we are going to be sheeting all the way on as the boat gets head to wind. And then once you've changed sides and you've sort of added a little bit of extra roll to the boat, you're going to need to drop enough main sheet so that you can easily flatten the boat. One of the biggest mistakes that sailors make in light wind tacks is not easing enough sheet, and so it then becomes really difficult to get the boat flat again, and you stall the foils, and you end up going really slow. Then once you're on the new side of the boat, you're going to sort of pause nearly, because what we're about to see a lot of the top sailors do is they actually like reach behind their back as they jump to the new side, and that's when they swap their tiller and their tiller extension and their main sheet hands. A mistake that a number of sailors make and that I made for a very, very long time is swapping sides and then flattening the boat, then changing your main sheet and your tiller extension hand. And then finally, when the main sheet's out, you've swapped the tiller and the tiller extension and the main sheet hand, you're going to throw your shoulders back and towards the back of the boat, and that is going to help flatten the boat, accelerate it, and shoot it back up towards a close hauled course. So now let's go through a couple of examples. And we're about to watch Charlie Buckingham, and he's a master at roll tacking. So you see how far out his sheet is there, and then he's able to get the boat back to flat really, really quickly. And now next example. Now the next example, these are mostly going to be Charlie here because he's got some really, really nice tacks in this video. So you see he's coming up into the wind, he sheets all the way onto block to block, and see as the boat's in the wind, he's at block to block, main sheet fully on, he pulls the boat on top of himself a bit, then he crosses over, drops the main sheet there, and now this is when he's reaching behind himself at the point where he's changed sides on the boat and he's swapping his tiller extent and main sheet hand. So you can see he brings his shoulders really far forward on the boat so that he can actually get his tiller extension behind his shoulders and back into his new sailing position. And you see he's swapped and now he throws his shoulders back. So he's come forward with his shoulders to swap the tiller and extension. Then he throws them out and back to flatten the boat and accelerate it. Other thing to note here is how far out he has his main sheet. So you can see that the main sheet's pretty far eased. And once the boat's flat, he's going to sheet that straight back onto block to block or his normal sailing position, like he does there. So final example for the light wind tacks. Again, another one from Charlie on the same upwind leg. So we can see how far his sheet out is here. But then as he goes through the tack, he's going to bring that all the way on. So yep, he's sheeting on now, coming into the wind, block to block. When he's in basically, pulls the boat on top of himself. And see now how he lets the main sheet kind of run through his hand a bit so that he can come back, grab the tiller extension with the new hand, and then pull it back behind his shoulders whilst his shoulders are forward in the boat. So see now he swaps it, and then as soon as the tiller extension's out of the way, he throws his shoulders back and aft and starts flattening the boat, and then sheets all the way back on to end the tack. So those were a couple of really nice tacks we saw there from Charlie. Now let's move on to the medium wind tacks, and as I mentioned earlier, tacking in the laser kind of works on a spectrum. So as the wind increases, we're going to want less heel on the boat, and we're also going to need to adjust our sheeting a bit. So as I say in my first point here, with the medium wind tacks, you need to assess the wind strength. So when there's more wind, you're going to use a little bit more rudder to initiate the tack. And then you also need to scale the amount of heel and sheet drop to the wind strength. So as it gets windier, you're probably going to need to drop more sheet and heel less, basically. So let's go through a couple of examples and see exactly what tacking in medium winds looks like. So first example here is going to be from a lighter side of medium wind strength. So this is Hye's 2017. We can see that it's a bit windier than the last few examples. These guys are nearly hiking and they're sheeted on block to block. And we have to watch Sam Meach tack here. There's a bit more rudder than Charlie was using in the light wind tack. So you see that the boat's basically completely flat, unlike when Charlie was tacking in really light winds where he was heeling the boat to lure it a bit to get it to start turning up. Sam's basically only using the rudder here, and he's already at block to block. So you see now he throws a little bit of heel into it, but probably not quite as much as Charlie did. Like his boom's not really touching the water there like Charlie's was, but he still eases the sheet and still goes for a very similar hand swap as Charlie. And we can see now he didn't have quite as much sheet out because he didn't flatten the boat as much, but the wind's also not quite so strong that he needs to ease a heap of sheet to help flatten it. And then sheet straight back onto his normal sailing position, and he's underway again. All right, second example from medium winds. This time we are looking at a medal race in Miami in 2018. We're about to see a tack from Allison Young. This example is a little bit windier than the one we saw before, so this is probably something like 14 to 16 knots here, maybe a little bit more. So we can see Allison, she's a lot of vang. You can look at the angle of the blocks. You can see that she's basically only using rudder to initiate the tack. She was at block to block the whole way into the wind. And now as she crosses under the boom, she's going to ease the sheet out as she's changing sides so that she can flatten the boat as quickly as possible and get straight back up to full speed. So you see the sheet ease there, and she keeps it out until the boat's flat, and then once she's going again, she starts bringing it back on. So that's one of the biggest differences between light wind and medium to heavy wind tacks. As the wind gets stronger, you're going to need to leave the sheet out for longer to help flatten the boat. And once you're up to full speed and hiking fully and going, that's when you can start bringing the sheet back on. So let's just watch that again in full speed. So that's a really nice tack there. And now finally, let's go on to the heavy wind tacks. So one of the first points which I've mentioned when it comes to heavy wind tacks is actually picking an area of flat water where you want to tack. As the wind gets stronger, the waves are going to get bigger and they're going to slow you down more. So ideally, you want to find a flat water spot where you can complete your tack and get up to full speed straight away. And as I said in my first point, you are going to use more rudder to initiate the tack in comparison to the medium and light wind tacks. And then as we saw with Allison in the medium wind example, you're going to drop sheet whilst ducking the boom to be able to keep the boat flat throughout the maneuver. And then as soon as you get to the new side, you want to be full hiking and get the boat up to speed quickly as possible, and then get the sheet back to your normal sailing position. So let's jump into our example for the heavy wind tacks. So this example is going to be another one from Allison Young, this time in the pretty windy Aarhus 2018 medal race. I also did an analysis on the men's race, if you want to check that out over here. As we can see, Cunningham is fully on, and the vang is very, very tight, and it is very windy. So you can see that she's fully sheeted on, and now she's basically only used the rudder to go into the tack. She's about to change sides, and we'll see as she's ducking the boom, the sheet goes all the way out, and see it's out now, and now she starts sheeting back on once she's fully hiking. As we saw there, she jumped straight out onto the new side, straight into the hiking strap, got the boat going back up to full speed as quickly as possible. So let's watch it again in real time. Okay. So barely any speed loss there. We could see that Allison got going on the new side as quickly as she could. And so that's a really, really effective heavy wind tack. So that's it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed this guide to tacking the laser. If you did, please make sure to give the video a thumbs up. And if you haven't yet, please, please, please subscribe to the channel. It helps me out massively and will get me one subscriber closer to my goal for the year, which is 1K subs. And until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see you then.